dooski guys, it's Phil34 and I'm here with my The Magnificent Seven movie review. The Magnificent Seven stars Denzel Washington as Sam Chisolm, a bounty hunter who is hired by residents after greedy industrialist Bartholomew Boque seizes control of Rose Creek. It's up to Sam and his newly recruited gang to take out Boques' men and save the people of Rose Creek. When I first saw the promotion of this movie, it caught my interest in two ways. First was that this was already a movie that's been remade, and the second was that this is a Western. We don't really get much of those anymore. It has a phenomenal cast and a solid director, Anton Fuqua, the man who was behind films like Training Day and The Equalizer. I found The Magnificent Seven to be enjoyable and surprisingly very entertaining. I had a good amount of fun with this movie, more so than I thought I was. I think once you realize what this movie actually is, a popcorn PG action movie, I think you can enjoy it much more. The actual film doesn't take itself very seriously. It's not super layered, drama filled, or have crazy dialogue as some other movies might have, or westerns, but it's still a fun ride. You get a sense it knows what it wants to be, and I think it works for this movie. I personally found it enjoyable, especially since westerns are hard to come by nowadays. With regards to the directing, Fuqua does a great job with Magnificent Seven. The movie is directed fairly well, and you get a bunch of beautiful shots throughout the film's entire runtime. In particular, some things that stand out to me were some of the wide long shots with just the scenery in the background. But I think the place where I tip my hat towards Antoine Fuqua is the way that he directed the action. The ending battle sequence was great, but when you see the beginning of the last battle sequence, it just reminded me so much of the Game of Thrones Battle of the Bastards battle sequence, and I couldn't help but get excited because how awesome the last sequence was, and I was just glued to the screen the whole entire time. But like I said, this cast was phenomenal, having a bunch of A-list actors in it. Virtually everybody did a good job. From Vincent D'Onofrio to Ethan Hawke, all the characters had their moments to shine in this movie. As I'm talking about characters, guys, Denzel Washington killed this one. As always, it's Denzel! Right from the beginning to the end of this movie, you really buy into his character, and his performance was stellar. One thing I will say though that I wish you got a little bit more is, we don't really learn much about this character until he has this one scene that reveals a lot of his reasoning for this mission. But I think withholding the information for that one scene made it turn out to be a really great one. Also, he was a badass. Who better than Denzel Washington to play a character like this? Chris Pratt is also in this movie, and I thought he did a good job. His character is a lot of fun. He's charming, he's a badass when he needs to be, and he is very good at goldfish. He has his cars that he uses a lot. That was a nice addition to this movie. A minor nitpick is it kind of feels like they just told him yo dude, just Chris Pratt it up. There's scenes where it's borderline Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy / just Chris Pratt being Chris Pratt. It's not a bad thing, but it's just very noticeable. It kind of brings you out just for a tad second. Overall, I did like his performance in this movie, and I was surprised the route that they went with his character, especially in the end. I didn't expect that, to be honest. I really enjoyed the setting of this movie, the Wild West. This is a Western movie, but to me, I didn't really get that spaghetti Western vibe from this. It's very much a classic Western story. A town's been taken over by some bad people. A group of heroes come to save it. But a really interesting thing about The Magnificent Seven is it has a modern twist to it that I think really works. Also, something worth noting is the music in this thing was fairly cool. They have a lot of chimes and other kind of musical instruments used to give a lot of tension in this movie at points in the action or the standoff that I think really work well. The action in The Magnificent Seven was actually pretty damn good. It actually surprised me. As you'd expect in a Western, there is the classic showdowns. There's quite a bit of them, and they're awesome. It was so much fun watching these badasses just take down hordes of cowboys with their pistols with precision. From the larger set pieces to the smaller sequences, Antoine Fuqua does a great job at making fun and entertaining action scenes while adding variation as the movie progresses. So the story is fairly simple, and it's basically been told a bunch of times, but I did enjoy it. However, it's the downtime in between the plot where the character development in The Magnificent Seven falls short, and it definitely could have been improved. Around the second act for me, the film starts to drag just ever so slightly. The narrative kind of comes to a halt, and it almost feels hollow when we just randomly start encountering all these new people in The Magnificent Seven, which leads to another minor issue that I had with the character relationships. It could have been better. For example, Chris Pratt's character and Vasquez, they try to make an emotional moment between them, but I felt there wasn't enough screen time for me to really believe it or the characters to really feel that for one another. Although I do think there is some great chemistry between some of the characters at certain points in this movie, I really wish there was a bit more of it across all the boards and more team building. The actual team members of The Magnificent Seven are fairly interesting. They all seem to have a really cool backstory, but we really don't get into it all too much, except for one or two characters a bit, and I really wish we could have. That's one of the gripes that I do have with this movie, especially since it's fairly long, got a 2-hour and 15-minute runtime. I wish we could have got a tad bit more of that for some of the characters. Also, the villain in this movie was actually really good. He was super creepy and a scumbag. I feel like we should have got more of him. Overall, guys, I had a pretty fun time with Magnificent Seven. There was some issues with character development here and there, and I wish we could have gotten a little more out of the villain, but it was still a good time. I'm gonna go ahead and give The Magnificent Seven a 7.3 out of 10. And that is the Magnificent 7 movie review, guys. Did you see this? Are you thinking of checking it out, guys? Let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you have not already. I'm gonna try my best to get back on the movie reviews when I can, guys. So if there's a movie coming out that you'd like me to review, let me know in the comment section down below and I'll try my best to get to it. Alright guys, that's it for me today. I'll see you next time. Peace.